Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the Christmas holidays and obviously coming up to the new year. I just wanted to kind of continue on really with what I've been putting out there and what myself and Paul have been doing over the last couple of months. We've basically looked at some shorter time frame stuff, right? And if you know, obviously, myself or Paul, you know that we're longer time frame traders. We like the more kind of conventional type instruments, and we've been doing this an awful long time, right? In terms of the discussions, we've gone into obviously prop firm trading and the challenges and so on. And one of the things that come out on the back of that is clearly artificial intelligence, things like bots and automation. The prop firm itself and how you can leverage other people's money. And I guess just kind of putting these things together. And clearly, crypto is a market that there's a lot of people interested in, right? So what I wanted to do was go through what we've already kind of shown, what we've already discussed, and kind of take this to the next level in terms of where we're going next, right? So what we started off, we wanted to show first of all things like where did I come to this one here off topic. I wanted to show how we can automate some of these strategies, right, on a very small time frame for passing things like an FTMO challenge, right, and other prop firms and so on. Now, the last stream that I'd done, which I think was not this one, this was the one, the kind of end of year summary. So the last one I'd done in the automation sequence was talking about how we could use, I'm not even sure if it's in there, right? It might be in my profile. I've definitely talked about this in individual posts, okay? Now, in terms of the streams, let me just see if it was just on Trade Moving. I think this was the last one. So it must be this one. So the general idea, right, is if you come through my profile and you see that last stream followed by this particular post, I mentioned I'd been looking into a platform called Three Commas, right? Now, in terms of automating the streams, the trades, the one thing that I wanted to look at was how, as a non-technical person, how easy or difficult would it actually be to connect one strategy slash one indicator to the platform, right? And then in essence, just kind of let the platform run, right? So what I'm going to do over the next couple of streams is I'm going to plug the system in and then hopefully show some of the back testing on a strategy or two, right? Now, the general idea is that obviously not being a short time frame trader anymore, I'm looking at other strategies and other techniques, other indicators that are readily available, right? And if you know of anyone or you want me to test anyone, right, then I'd love obviously some feedback in terms of what you're thinking of and kind of why, right? And if we get a similar feel or a similar feedback, then obviously we'll kind of go. I'm not going to do lots of these, right? This is ultimately just a kind of a show what is possible using things like Three Commas combined with TradingView, right? And obviously the TradingView platform, the power of using PineScript, so on and so on, right? Now, what I mentioned in the last stream was how I was looking to use ChatGPT, right? And I think this was actually the same on the post, how we could use what have I done there? Click the wrong button. 2 seconds. How you could use ChatGPT to create an indicator, right, that you could actually plug in. Yeah, it was on this. That you could actually plug in, right? So I basically went over to ChatGPT. I asked them for this, which was the actual question. Can you write a PineScript version 4? The trade's basically pivot point breakout, right? I wanted profits at S2 and R2 with stop losses in the other direction, R1, S1. Okay, so very, very simplistic, right? Now, this was obviously just one to show that one ChatGPT can write that PineScript for me, right? Now, obviously, at this particular stage, I can tweak it, I can edit it, I could go away and pay someone to go and edit that, right? If you're not that technical. The general idea is I've now used artificial intelligence to write a very simplistic code. The next idea is to plug that into the automation platform using this Three Commas, right? So what I've actually got a demo account here, right? This isn't something that I'm doing for real right now. I'm still kind of playing around with the concept more than anything. There's no defined strategy. I'm just trying to kind of show and kind of invite you guys to kind of play around with this and test this, right? In terms of what the possibilities could be, right? So first things first, I looked at this platform and I thought to myself, how as a non-technical person do I navigate this, right? So there's a couple of things that I've obviously seen, kind of online. You've got this kind of product tour, which is quite cool. Now, obviously, I've got nothing to do with three commas in that sense. It's not, it's not a kind of a plug in terms of this. There's probably other companies doing this as well, but in essence, it's three commas that I'm kind of focused on, right? So, in essence, the general idea was I was looking at this signal bot, right? Now, right over here, there's a couple of things straight away, right? And it's just intuitive. I think this is what I liked about this particular platform, right? Very intuitive in terms of, come and watch a tutorial, plenty of literature online, so on, so on. But this is where it gets interesting for me. This was the TradingView custom indicator. So in essence, right, I've just clicked on this. All I needed to do was to copy this URL into the platform, come across to the alerts, right? Copy this in on that channel and create the alert, right? Back over to three commas. I've gone obviously into TradingView. I've already set that, proceed. And then in essence, there's a couple of things I need to look at. First things first, I want to look at the pair that I'm currently looking at. So I want BTC USDT, right? There, done with the pair. Now what I'm looking at is obviously the initial margin. So let's just take that up to 100 USDT. And then in essence, right, being obviously on a demo account here, I can only do, what I can do with the limitation, which is obviously what I'm going to look at in terms of the next step, right? But the general idea is you can see how straightforward this particular move is, right? Now, obviously, at this particular stage, I can then start looking at other indicators, other bits and pieces, other tools. And this is what I want to do next, right? This is the bit that I'm intrigued by, right? I've always said in terms of automation that, when it's easy, we're not going to have doctors, lawyers, accountants, police officers and so on, because everyone wants to be a professional trader. But what I'm intrigued with this is the fact that it's pretty straightforward, right? And, all the coding, all the effort, all the hard work seems to have been kind of taken out by the fact that it's copy and paste a webhook into the platform, right? Now, obviously, the next thing for me, and this is what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to start playing around with some different indicators. And I'll come on to these in a second. What I'm going to be trying to do is using things like ChatGPT, right? Because I'm not a coder, right? I'm a trader, been a trader for 20 odd years. So for me, the whole concept of taking something as an idea and being able to kind of do it yourself is really cool. Right? I've also been very lucky over the years. I've had people write indicators for me. I've gone out and bought indicators and so on in terms of based off, my own ideas, my own concepts and so on. But I think the whole fitting the pieces together is the whole part of what, I'm trying to emphasize here, especially with this stream and the last couple of streams that we've done. I'd love to start off with, hey, I got a cool idea. Let's just use what I posted in the last post. I'm going to go out and use, ChatGPT. I'm going to do a breakout pivot point strategy. That's gone away and wrote the strategy for me. I come back over to TradingView. I stick this into TradingView. From there, being able to connect this in with something like three commas that are then connected to your broker, it's a pretty cool concept, right? Now, obviously, there's lots of different steps and techniques, and like I said, lots of different companies and so on. But I think this is the bit for me that I really want to find what I'm doing next. So my next couple of streams, right, are going to be pointing this in a direction. And that's what I really want to cover. I want to cover how you, anybody, not just myself, can take that idea and turn that into a fully automated system within 3, 4, 5 steps maximum. Okay. So, back to obviously the particular tools. I've been asking, especially in our Discord server, I've been asking for feedback. I've been asking for various tools if other people have different strategies that they looked at, and there's a couple of strategies that have popped up a couple of times. Right now, if you type into TradingView, I think Lux Algo, right? So you can see these guys here, right? Now, this particular company, clearly these are indicator kind of sellers per se. They seem to have a lot of open source code and a lot of open indicators, which is a really cool thing, especially for the growth of the TradingView community. But they've also got these three. So I'm going to look into these, right? This is the one thing I'm going to look into next. I'm going to look into these, I guess, paid for indicators next, right? As one thing that clearly a lot of people have pointed me down this route. In the meantime, I've looked through some of the list and I've been spotting a couple of things where I've had other types of messages and other kind of requests on the messages. Now, the other requests are all to do with ICT, right? Now, I don't really know all that much about ICT, if I'm honest. I know of the guy. I know of his kind of education. I know a lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him. Um, I'm kind of not of an opinion in terms of him himself. There's probably a lot of good stuff there. Clearly, he's got a lot of following. Um, I don't know much about his techniques or his strategies as a whole. Right? Don't know what he's teaching, what he's kind of showing. But what I have seen when doing the research for this is that there's a couple of strategies that kind of make sense, right? Now, obviously, the terminology, the liquidity. I think for me, a lot of these things, like, I'm guessing this is some kind of order block, right? Now, obviously, the idea for these things is clearly it's seeking liquidity, right? It's kind of chasing liquidity. And this is something that I've believed in for an awful long time, right? So already this is a plus in my books in terms of what the bigger players are looking for. If you know me, you follow me, you know that, COT is a big thing in my playbook, understanding what the bigger bias is doing, right? So there's a lot of things that I've seen in the literature and a lot of things that I've seen in my research for this that kind of makes me feel that this could be a good starting point for a trading automation tool. It's now a question of how we bundle this together, right? So this is my next kind of part of the journey, if you will. So I've looked at these ICT, and this is obviously Lux Algo. So clearly these guys are fans of ICT, right? We've got a couple of things like these reversal signals, and all I was doing is just sticking these indicators on and just seeing if there was anything that made sense to me with a trader's hat on, rather than what the signal is actually giving, right? Now, clearly a couple of things that were obviously spotted, right? When the price comes back to a level. Now, I talk about these things in like master patterns and so on, right? And how the consolidations creates liquidity. It's an auction zone, right? So regardless of the terminology, right, it's an auction zone, right? What happens inside that block is buyers and sellers are almost picking the direction, right? Now, when you start looking at how the market seeks liquidity, it basically will drop down. It'll come back up and test the underside of the zone, and then it'll either drop down again, or it'll break through, test the underside, and go again, right? So the biggest challenge is how do we know what goes on inside of the zone, right? If you look into automated strategy, that's less of an issue, right? So when I was putting these things together, when I was looking for the research on this, I've come up with obviously a couple of the ones that made sense in terms of these smart money concepts, ICT concepts. So again, my next bit of research is going to be going away and kind of researching these four tools, right? These are the four tools that I've picked out based on clicking through all of Lux Algo's, software and all the available tools on TradingView. I can kind of see the logic as to what they've got. Clearly, break of structure. There's obviously, for me, there's the break of a structure, right? So a lot of the things that I use on a bigger time frame, right? Clearly things like there's an auction going on there, which means it's going to be an area of interest in the future. There's our area of interest. We obviously break that structure. You've got clear similarities in obviously how these work, right? So I want to try to get to the bottom of these to actually go away and automate some of these tools / strategies, right? So what I wanted to show on this particular video was, as the price drops through a zone, we like to come back up and test the 50% marker, right? That for me is just a master pattern move, right? Not much else to it. What I found interesting is both of these indicators, you had a signal here, which I'm not quite sure what the P stands for at the moment. And then obviously this, I'm guessing, is an order block, right? And I'm guessing it's in red, which means, kind of down. So that for me is pretty cool, that an indicator can kind of pick out a level that I would be looking at, just kind of looking at the naked chart. So that really is kind of fascinating as to, why they've picked this level, right? That's what I want to look at kind of next, right? So the next thing for me is I'm going to ask the question, if you guys have other indicators that you think, we should look at and we should review as part of this series, this kind of sequence of the trading automation kind of series, then, kind of be my guest, throw it in. Obviously, this is streamed now on YouTube and on TradingView, so be my guest. What I want to then do is to take this and kind of refine it, or to tweak it, or to just kind of create the signals that I can then come back and plug obviously back into 3Commas, right? In terms of how this can be automated on these kind of cryptocurrencies or crypto pairs, early doors, right? So I got to go away and spend a bit of time on, connecting existing tools up to 3Commas. I want to go away and do some research on these couple of indicators. Right now, obviously, I'm going to keep these there. If you want to, if you want to look at these yourself, right, be my guest. Lux Algo, like I said, was the first company that I had 3, 4, 5, different people come back and say, hey, have you seen this? What do you think of these guys? And ICT clearly was, again, the kind of second runner in terms of, from what I've seen so far. I think the guy is more education rather than he has his own indicators, right? I might be wrong, so don't kind of shout at me if I am wrong there. Obviously, it's an interesting kind of concept nonetheless, and the fact that Lux Algo had created something around ICT kind of piqued my interest a little bit more. So right now, I think for me, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the kind of automation side. I'm not really going to do anything in terms of Bitcoin right now. I think for me, Bitcoin's still doing what I said. I kind of felt I didn't want to happen last year. When I actually looked back and I thought to myself, wow, it's the numbers I really, really wanted it to be accumulating. It's kind of not, and not yet, which means we got a little bit more in terms of the downside. So, I think my sentiment on Bitcoin in general is still pretty much, not much has changed. I'm not interested just yet in terms of a 100K move. There's still a few things that have to happen first. And that's just, me being realistic. As I said at the start, guys, I've done this for 20 odd years. I'm just not interested yet. So for now, my kind of focus, my momentum, if you will, is playing around with these shorter time frame type things and this trading automation. I kind of feel there's definitely something of interest. It's just a question of now how I can use ChatGPT to connect into, a trading view indicator using PineScript, maybe tweak or change or edit, add whatever it might be in terms of, again, ChatGPT or something similar. Connect that obviously into something like 3Commas directly into the broker, and then do a bit of back testing on it. So that's what I see for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, really, in terms of playing out until Bitcoin kind of does something interesting. It's just not interesting for me. So that's kind of where I stand, where I sit. I'm going to leave it like that. So I'm just going to check to see if there's any questions, and obviously come back if there's not. Okay, so nothing on that. I'm going to leave you guys to it. Obviously, have a happy New Year, and we'll see you kind of 2024 on the other side. Take it easy, and I'll see you on the next stream. Thanks for watching, guys.